1. The silence of the Nile. Long before pyramids pierced the horizon, the Nile was already sacred. Its floods arrived each year like a god's heartbeat, bringing life and taking it away. The early Egyptians saw divinity in its rhythm, yet among the oldest texts, scratched onto worn tablets, scholars have found strange gaps, mentions of rulers who never existed or who were erased, dynasties that appeared and vanished without a trace. In the Temple of Abydos, carved deeper than light could reach, one of these absences hides in plain sight. On a stone list of kings, one name was deliberately chiseled away. Later scribes called him the Forgotten Pharaoh. His story was removed from every record, every monument, as though his reign had been a dream Egypt wished to forget. Archaeologists found fragments of his cartouche buried beneath newer stonework, traces suggesting heresy, rebellion, perhaps even forbidden worship. Whatever he had done, his memory itself became the crime. The Egyptians had a word for this, damnatio memoriae. To erase a name was to kill a soul twice, once in flesh, once in memory. Tonight, as wind drifts through broken halls, you can almost hear that silence, deliberate, eternal. 2. The city that hid its gods. Far to the east, where the Euphrates bends, stood a city that glowed like a mirage, Babylon. It was not the first Mesopotamian city, but it became the loudest, a beacon of language, law, and pride. And yet, buried beneath its grandeur were older gods, names so ancient that even priests dared not speak them aloud. In clay tablets found near the ruins, scholars uncovered references to the seven who walked before light. No descriptions, no offerings, just warnings. They must remain beneath. Later kings built temples directly over older shrines, sealing them with brick and bitumen. Some believed these were primitive attempts at archaeology. Others think they were acts of fear. When the Babylonians worshipped Marduk, their patron god, they may have been suppressing something older, chaotic spirits that once ruled before order. Every festival, every hymn to Marduk was a reenactment of suppression, of burying the wild beneath the civilized. Even their city's greatest tower, the legendary ziggurat of Babylon, was less a climb toward heaven and more a lid upon the deep. 3. The library that vanished. There was once a library so vast that its shelves seemed endless. A library built not of paper, but of clay. The Royal Library of Ashurbanipal in Nineveh contained thousands of tablets inscribed with knowledge gathered over centuries: astronomy, medicine, magic, law. When Nineveh fell in 612 BCE, flames devoured the palace, but the fire baked the clay tablets, preserving them by accident. That's how we know their words today. But among them are catalogs that mention other tablets, ones never found. One title repeats across several records, the words of the deep ones. No scholar has ever located it. Some suggest it was a manual of forbidden rituals, others that it recorded languages spoken before humanity's dawn. Whatever it contained, it was gone long before the city burned. Was it stolen? Hidden? Or perhaps deliberately buried where no conqueror would ever find it? Some stories say the priests of the Temple of Nabu, god of wisdom.
4. Whispering stones. In the Egyptian desert between Luxor and Aswan, there stands a broken colossus. Travelers have called it the vocal Memnon. Each dawn, as sunlight warms the statue's cracks, it releases a soft hum, a whisper that ancient visitors thought was the voice of a god greeting the sun. Roman emperors traveled thousands of miles just to hear it sing. But to the priests who once tended it, the sound was not a blessing. It was a warning. The statue, they said, marked the tomb of a forgotten guardian, a being from before the first dynasty. When the stone spoke, it reminded the living of promises broken. So they built a second statue beside it, silent, facing away. Centuries later, when earthquakes silenced the first voice forever, the priests celebrated. They believed the curse had finally gone back to sleep.
5. The flood beneath the flood. Both Egypt and Mesopotamia share one haunting story, a flood that ended the world. The tale of Noah may be familiar, but long before it was written in Hebrew, it flowed through Sumerian clay as the story of Utnapishtim, the man who survived when gods drowned humanity for its noise. Yet beneath even that legend lies something stranger. Archaeologists near Ur found sediment layers, not one but two massive floods, centuries apart. The older layer dated to a time when no written records existed. And in that layer, they found something impossible. A sealed jar containing a faint black powder and a carved symbol that doesn't match any known language. The jar disintegrated upon contact with air. Whatever message it carried dissolved into dust, leaving only questions. Who sealed it, and why did they bury it beneath a flood that no one was meant to survive?
6. The king who tried to erase the gods. Back in Egypt, another name still sends a quiet chill through historians, Akhenaten. He was the pharaoh who defied millennia of tradition by proclaiming there was only one god, the sun disk, Aten. He closed temples, erased idols, and moved the capital.
7. Echoes beneath the dust. When the British Museum first unrolled the papyrus known as the Book of the Hidden Chamber, most of its symbols made sense, until the final passage. It spoke of the mouth that opened itself beneath the stars. Egyptologists debated its meaning for decades. Some thought it referred to a ritual cave, others to an astronomical alignment. Then, in the 1990s, satellite imaging revealed an anomaly beneath the Giza Plateau, a cavity nearly 30 meters deep directly beneath the Sphinx's paws. Official excavations confirmed an empty chamber carved into solid bedrock, but its walls were smooth, untouched, as if sealed since the beginning. The ministry halted the dig, claiming instability. To this day, no one knows who built it, or what the ancients meant when they said, "The mouth beneath the stars must never open."
8. The river's memory. Every year, the Nile still floods, and with each flood, it returns something new. A shard of pottery, a figurine, a rusted amulet. The river remembers. It hides and reveals at will. In the villages along its banks, elders still tell children to whisper apologies before drawing water at night, for the river hears everything. They say there are names buried under the silt, names once forbidden to speak, and if you call them, the current will answer. Maybe that's why so much of Egypt's past remains half-seen. The sands protect what the river refuses to release.
9. The night between two rivers. In Mesopotamia, when dusk settles and the call of night herons echoes over the marshes, the landscape seems timeless. The same stars that guided shepherds 5,000 years ago still shine, but under those stars, beneath ruined ziggurats and broken tablets, lies the proof of humanity's oldest instinct, not to discover, but to hide. For every myth carved in stone, there were others whispered in fear. For every god worshipped in daylight, another was feared in darkness. And so the ancients built, destroyed, and built again, sealing away whatever truths they thought too dangerous, too holy, or too shameful for the ages to know. Maybe that's what history really is. Not a record of what we remember,
but of what we were allowed to remember.